Not much. We about ready to begin? Okay, call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Lowell City Council Public Safety Subcommittee. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Chairman Martin.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. Here. Councilor Noon.
Here.
3 present.
Okay, thank you. This, again, is continuing in the series of monthly meetings the Public Safety Subcommittee has been conducting, but we do have some important news coming out of the police department, and so it coincides nicely with the monthly meeting, and I would have the city manager recognize him to introduce the new superintendent of police. Mr. Manager.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and as you indicated, it is a little different than what we had originally planned, perhaps, for this month for the Public Safety Subcommittee, but I was very happy yesterday to make my announcement, my selection, which was both simultaneously a difficult selection, given the level of talent that we have, but also an easy selection for me, because when I made my decision, it was good to have that behind me, but also to know that I was very much believe that I had the best candidate in Bill Taylor. Bill's been with the department now for about 31 years, has worked his way up through the organization, and has worked in a variety of areas of the police department. I think he comes with a tremendous amount of talent, a tremendous amount of knowledge, and I think he is going to be an outstanding police superintendent for the city of Lowell. Tonight, Superintendent Taylor is here with me, along with Deputies Ryan and Deputy Friedel, to update the council on where we are in general within the police department. Particularly tonight, I'd like Superintendent Taylor to speak to the subcommittee about his vision for the police department. Obviously, he's only been on the job for 1 day, but he's obviously, too, been here for 3 decades, so he knows the city very well, he knows the department very well, he knows the issues at hand, and he's been involved with it on a first-hand basis for a considerable period of time. But in light of the ongoing public safety issues that the city is always facing, I think it's important to know what the superintendent's ideas are regarding the allocation of resources and equipment and strategy to address those public safety concerns. So he's here tonight to be able to speak in that way. And we also have a couple of other reports that were referred to the Public Safety Subcommittee and the Police Department. One is talking about the staffing within the department with regards to deployment of our existing staffing across all shifts and sectors and specialty units, so he's going to be able to speak to that. And also an issue that we've been working at for some time, and I know the council has asked us to work at as well, is the equipment with regards to the police vehicle inventory, and he has some information on that as well. So I think at this point I'll turn it over to the superintendent and give him an opportunity to speak, and have you ask questions of him regarding all of those matters.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. First of all, let me say it's an extreme honor to be selected as the next superintendent of police in the Lowell Police Department. I am truly humbled by the experience here. I understand completely the quality of the other candidates that were in contention for this position. They're all exceptional law enforcement professionals, so to be selected for this is an honor, and it's very humbling. I'm also very excited, though. I'm positive that working together with the men and women of the Lowell Police Department, both civilian and sworn, and also the citizens of Lowell, I know that we will make great strides moving forward to make Lowell a better place to live and work, and ultimately that's the goal of the Lowell Police Department, to make this community the safest community of its size in the country, and to continue and grow those collaborations and the community efforts that we already are very substantially involved in. First, let me thank both the interim superintendent, Deb Friedel, and the deputy superintendent, Arthur Ryan. They've been great. We've worked in the past several months very much as a collaboration and a team effort, and we certainly will continue that moving forward. They've been wonderful to work with, and they've been exceptional to me over the last 24 hours as I taken over the leadership position in this organization. What I envision is a reinvigorating of the Lowell Police Department's community policing efforts as we move forward. I personally believe the best approach moving forward is a blending of various strategies, including community policing, smart policing, and problem solving. The use of data, smart policing, evidence-based policing, which Deputy Ryan's very much involved in, will be instrumental to allow us to very much use the overtime that we have available to put people in offices and locations where they can do the most good at the appropriate time. So I very much envision we will continue those efforts as we have, so smart policing and the use of overtime to put officers in specific locations will very, very much be part of the solution. I also envision that the most important thing I think we can do moving forward is to develop a strategy to take officers, put them into the neighborhoods on foot and on bicycle, if possible. We clearly, the Lowell Police Department, the people in the command staff, we get the message. Certainly the city manager has conveyed that. I know the city council is very much advocating for increased resources in the neighborhoods, walking, bicycling, talking to the neighbors. So the message is very clear. That's going to be my charge as we move forward to try and find the resources and put additional officers both in deployment and also on overtime into the neighborhoods. And I think the most important thing we can do is it's going to open up those lines of communication between the neighbors and the police officers. Very much it's a process of communicating, talking, and most importantly, listening to the neighbors, telling us what's good in the neighborhood and what needs to be changed. And so you can't do that when you're driving by at 30 miles an hour with the windows rolled up. It has to be that process of talking and listening. So that's very much the charge. I think involved in that is going to be a strategic reorganization within the police department so that we take the resources we have available and put them into the neighborhoods as we believe it should be. That'll take a little bit of time, and so in the short term, it'll be much the same that we've been doing in terms of our use of overtime and the resources we have. One thing we do have very much a benefit, we have 11 new officers just graduated from the police academy. They will go through a period of training. It's called the PTO program. It's approximately 12 to 14 weeks, depending on how quickly the individual officers can accelerate through it. Once they complete that training, we will hopefully be complete with the strategic reorganization, and we'll find additional officers to dedicate to this increased community policing effort as we move forward. The other big thing I think that is noteworthy is we've clearly understand from our investigations and our intelligence that the gang profile in the city has evolved. Years ago, it was typically disenfranchised youth who were having disputes over some perceived disrespect with each other. That the profile was the gangs were typically younger, did not have substantial criminal backgrounds or criminal records, and we adjusted our strategy to combat the gang situation and some of the inherent violence specifically related to that profile. It clearly has evolved. We've got the information, we've got the intelligence. The gang situation now, the people that are involved in the violent acts are typically older. They also have more substantial criminal records, some of them very substantial periods of incarceration. They come back out. But perhaps most importantly, without question, many of the acts of violence are centered around drug trafficking and money laundering that go hand in hand, and the violence that also follows very closely behind it. So we have to adjust our strategy, and we are in the process of doing that. We've already opened up communication with the district attorney's office and the state police detectives assigned to them and the state police detectives from the gang unit. And we're going to adjust our strategies going forward. Clearly, this evolution of gangs into criminal enterprises that traffic in drugs and have money laundering and violence related to it creates some challenges for us, but it also creates some opportunities to, when we can identify the appropriate locations and use the investigative techniques, we can go in and hopefully dismantle some of these organizations moving forward. So that's clearly something we need to do. There is somewhat of a silver lining with that. Through the efforts of the city, the state, and many of the other social service agencies, including organizations like the Boys and Girls Club and UTEC, we have been successful with the younger youth in the city. And so what we're seeing is that they've, by and large, many of them are not involved in this gang violence right now. So that's a very positive thing, and it took a lot of hard work by many people to facilitate that. But clearly, you see the profile, as I discussed, needs to change, and we need to change along with it, and we're in the process of doing that. That's pretty much what I'm prepared to explain tonight. More information will be forthcoming as we go through the process. Very much it's going to be a collaborative effort with the two deputies and other members of the command staff to reorganize the department to be more responsive to what we clearly understand is the mandate from the manager and the city council and the citizens, what is desired. What I can tell you is we get the message, we understand.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chief, and congratulations and welcome. Hopefully you'll, I know we've worked with you a lot in the past, but hopefully that's going to increase now with this position. So we look forward to your efforts and what you're going to bring to the position. Also, on behalf of my colleagues on the subcommittee and the City Council, I want to thank Interim Superintendent Friedel for her good work in the time that she headed the department, and really the three of you at the top of the department. I know there's a lot of years of experience and a lot of ability. We do have some issues that need attention, but I'm confident that you'll be able to lead the city forward and address those. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Other members of the subcommittee have questions or comments? How about other members of the council? Councilor Mercier.
Very good sentiment, Chairman Martin, because we want to offer congratulations and also to say that Deputy Superintendent Friedel did a tremendous job, no doubt about that. So the three of you sitting there will be such a good credit to the city. And I know we have problems, and we are trying to work it and straighten it out, but I was pleased to see that the video van is going around, and this is a good thing. And so if we could, I would like to make a motion to have one in each neighborhood, but I know that we can't do that, but this is a start, and we are working to try to solve this situation. People say, oh, it's this one's fault, it's that one's fault, but you know what? It's very difficult to be a police officer. It is very easy to throw blame, but when you are a police officer, you don't know when a domestic argument is going to turn into a violent situation. You don't know that unless you're psychic, and I don't know anybody here that is. But I just want to say that we're working to try to do the best that we can. I know that we'd like more police on the street. It's not easy to just get them out there. We gotta wait, and it's difficult, but we're working tonight. We have something on the agenda for overtime, and this is what we're doing. We're doing everything we can to supply the tools that the police department needs. So I want to say that we're all trying to be on the same page. You get it, you know what we're talking about, and we're trying to bring the message of the public up here. So I just wanted to say those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Well, let me also take this opportunity, Deputy Superintendent Friedel, for your service during your time, as well as Deputy Superintendent Arthur Ryan. And congratulations, Mr. Taylor, on your appointment. And your message is good as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure the people at home, that on day one you've heard what we have heard from the people, from our neighborhood leaders, that we need to revert back to community policing because we know it works. And we know it works when there are more officers. We know it works, but we also know that that's not the only solution to the problems that we have to address, and we're hitting them right on. We're hitting them straight on, with back to community policing, as well as smart policing, which I do believe we're staying ahead of the curve, and we need to with the criminals, because they know the system. They know how to beat the system. So between the vans and the other strategies, it's good to hear. Reorganization, I think that's important as well. Not that I know all of the ins and outs of the administration of running of the police department, but I did want to touch, or if I could press or ask you questions about community policing, because we're not waiting, and we're not waiting another day. We're moving forward. What's the first step? Because we have our community leaders here. What can we say to them? Okay, we're going to do this tomorrow. How do we start?
Thank you. Well, I think we've already started. I think the neighborhood groups hopefully have seen an increased presence in the neighborhoods. They've seen officers on bike and on foot walking the neighborhoods over the past several weeks. We've been able to do that twofold, with some redeployments and also with the use of some targeted overtime using the smart policing, the evidence-based strategies. And they will continue to see that as we move forward. And that hopefully will guide us through the next period of time while we do the strategic reorganization, take people and dedicate those resources to the community policing effort, and also get those officers through the finishing the training program. In addition, the manager has authorized us to hire several more officers through lateral transfers. We've begun that process. It does take some time, clearly. Yep. But,
okay. So what I do remember is there were satellite offices, and there's still satellite offices.
Yes.
And they seem to become, darkened and vacant, and there's not a lot of activity. And we understand, as we did back when community policing started, we can't have officers in there all the time, because we want them on the street. We want them responding to calls. We want them in action. And volunteers were typically the way, that provided those extra resources. Is that something that we're going to look into, to keep the lights on, to keep activity, and let people know, okay, this is just not again, including the criminals. Offices are lit, locations are lit, rather there's activity, and, sending out a message that we need more volunteers. This is one of the key successes to community policing, having, more resources to complement what we already have.
yes, that's right. And tomorrow evening, we have over 40 individuals graduating from the Lowell Police Citizens Police Academy. As part of their graduation, they're going to be asked to see if they'd be interested in doing some volunteer work in the various precincts. I also have a meeting scheduled with the University Police Department, and part of the discussion there will be to see if we can open that up, especially to individuals, students that may be enrolled in the criminal justice program at the university, to see if we can get some volunteers to do exactly as you described. Middlesex is another opportunity, and then obviously the neighborhood groups. We will be approaching them and seeing, because clearly, anything we can do to further that, open the lines of communication between the police and the neighborhood, volunteerism, is certainly a portion of that, and we will try and move that
I mean,
forward.
I believe that is going to be, those additional volunteers, not only does it creates a sense of community participation, but it does invite people to get involved. And the more you empower, the more you can get people to become involved, invested in the process, the more, more likeliness that this community policing will succeed. And I think that, quite frankly, with any volunteer organization, I believe you get more people involved, you get, more, greater likeliness for success. So that's good to know. Right off the bat, we have volunteers graduating from the academy.
Well, it's a citizens police
Citizens,
academy.
right. So that's
Right.
good news.
Those-
I did have just one more question, but it jumps into the gang-related stuff, Mr. Chairman, so I don't know if we want to wait till, we do have an agenda, so I did just want to touch on those issues that you brought forward, so I'll wait till after.
Councilor
Thank you.
Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, on behalf of everyone out there and here, I want to thank Deputy Friedel and Deputy Ryan for what they've done while the seat was vacant, and now congratulate to Chief Taylor for receiving these positions. A number of questions I do have is with regard to respond, the strategy, and you spoke of that. I seen that as well, and so did the community about the foot patrol, the step up on that, as well as the bicycle patrol. I saw that in the Highland and elsewhere, and people, especially business community, are happy to see that. I know that also that you spoke of, Councilor Mercier spoke of the mobile civilian things to basically help deter crime, but also gather evidence in events that crime occur. How many of those mobile do we have, or just one?
Yes, Councilor. Right now, we have one, and it kind of related to another item on the agenda. We were able to take a older surveillance vehicle that we had that had limited amount of mileage on it, and we were able to recycle that vehicle with what I think is a pretty limited amount of funds from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, $7,500. Outfit it with very state-of-the-art cameras, some increased battery capacity, and then obviously mark it up so it's very prominently displays exactly what its intended purpose is for. So for a very nominal amount of funds, we were able to take that, and it's principally designed to be a deterrent effect. Some of the staff of the police department went to a innovation in law enforcement conference in September in Cambridge. As part of that conference, this was highlighted. It was actually has in its origin the Green Bay Police Department in Wisconsin. They have a different strategy. They used armored vehicles. I didn't think that was appropriate, and neither did the other members of the staff for the citizens of Lowell. But we had this vehicle available, and I thought we collectively put our heads together. We thought it would had very good applications in the city. So we've had it out there for one weekend, and certainly these cameras and the other equipment can record for essentially a month without having to be altered. So.
See, the street camera in some of those hotspot areas, say the Low Highland area and the Acre, do we have, I believe Deputy Friedel, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that we do have installed some cameras. Do you plans to install more in those hotspot areas?
Right.
We do have some of that technology available when we need it, and there are some that are deployed, for example, in the downtown area at all times. We're able to utilize systems such as at the Housing Authority. Sometimes if there's incidences in that area, we're able to look at the footage. So there is a project underway right now that one of our officers has been working on for a period of time, using some grant funds to enhance the infrastructure to allow for increased camera installation as needed in the city, and that we'll be able to, sort of monitor that right from inside the station and so forth. So that project's underway. Like most technology, you've got to sort of build your base and then grow from there. So that's happening right now. And so we should have more camera capabilities in the future.
Is it costly to install more? Because the reason I ask this question is because, as you recall, a couple of weeks ago at your meeting at the Lower Highland area, there was a difficulty for disclose for victim or witnesses in those 3 incidents. Particularly, I speak to Shaw, Adam, and Bellevue, particularly the Shaw Street one. They don't want to talk about it.
Right.
So with this camera, certainly to some extent help capture who do the shooting.
Well, I think the advantage of, for example, the system that we described, it's mobile, so it can be moved around, at a minute's notice, and gives us great ability to do that. In the future, as the Deputy Friedel said, you build the infrastructure, and then you can add components to it, pretty cost-effective. The technology continues to increase very quickly, and then usually the price has been going down as you move forward, so we're pretty optimistic with it. We will continue to build on video surveillance. It was, obviously we all know Ed Davis. I've had several discussions with him. It was of absolutely critical importance in the investigation of the marathon bombings in Boston. They would not have, without question, gotten as far along in that investigation as they did without the use of already existing video surveillance.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. We have questions or comments from members of the public. Have anything to add? Yep.
Hi, my name is Heidi Miller. I live at 124 Beacon Street. I have an issue with something that personally affects me at home and now at work. I own a business in Andover, Mass. I had a customer come in, and she explained to me last Thursday that a couple of weeks ago, her best girlfriend was downtown Lowell on Merrimack Street, leaving the Enterprise Bank parking lot, and was stabbed in the lip, she told me, which I know now was not the case. She was just brutally attacked. It went from a panhandling to a robbery to an attack. She is frightened. She will not leave her home. She will never return to Lowell. These women work in high-end shops downtown Andover, and they talk. I am proud to live in Lowell. I've been here 24 years. I don't want the progress that we've seen in the past now change, because people can't come downtown without being bothered by people asking them for money or getting hurt. I just recently went to a neighborhood leader meeting at the police department. They asked for us to take it to the street. I'd like to take it to the street. I'd like to see the police take it to the street, right down on Merrimack Street, and let's do defense. Let's show these people that we're not taking this anymore, that we want to do a self-defense program right on Merrimack Street. I'd like to do an outreach program, and I'd be there for you. I need to wait a couple of weeks. I hurt my hip. While I was home mending, I came across a few things that I know with community policing, I believe the city would benefit from. It is sidewalk ambassadors. Has anyone heard of this? I would like to leave this for the council to review. Along with this, I'd like to leave neighborhood community courts. Midtown Community Court has been run in New York City for over 20 years. I'd also like to leave this. So I've spoke to a few counselors. I've emailed a few counselors. I'm upset. Okay, none of this stabbing or this attack was in the newspaper. Okay, it's not the best publicity that we want to have for our city. But I'm starting to think, if we don't invest in our downtown or our business districts, who will? Who's going to come down here? I'd love to see a program like that happen. It's happening all over the country. I think it's something that we should look at, seriously look at. This really has nothing to pertain to the safety committee or subcommittee tonight, but this is what was on my door this morning when I got to work. It's held at the Safety Center in Andover. Some of the questions are you a senior in town or a parent of school-aged children? Is the growth of your business base essential to long-term success? How do we make, and I'd love this to say, how do we make Lowell the best place to work and live in America? Unfortunately, it says, how do we make Andover the best place to work or live in America? Join us to discuss these most important issues, Andover tomorrow. This is tomorrow. It's going to be held at 7 to 8:30 tomorrow at the Safety Center on North Main Street. This is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen and Andover Economic Development Council. I'd also like to leave that. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Chief, I think certain of us have heard about that incident, different facts. Is there something you can tell
Yeah.
us about that?
Yes, what I can tell you is we are investigating it, obviously, and it's working through a list of a couple of very promising suspects. But at some point, very quickly, the way that the investigation has to work is once they exhaust possibly the identification of the suspects through normal investigative means, then we can ask the DA's office to release the photos. We do have some fairly good quality photos. We can release them publicly. But we have to go through a process, and then the district attorney's office has to be in agreement with that. We're close to getting that agreement, and we will follow up on that tomorrow to see if we can release those photos. Obviously, we're very upset by that situation. And I do think I commend the members of the city council for the panhandling ordinance that was just recently passed. That will be a key part of our strategy, especially in the downtown area, to focus on those areas of disorder. We'll be able to use that and target locations and individuals that are aggressively panhandling and put a stop to it. So that's going to be key as we move forward. That's a great tool to give the police department.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for those materials. We'll take those, I guess, into study. And other members of the public that, go ahead.
My name is David Coach. I live at 18 Mill Street here in Lowell. I'm the president of the Back Central Neighborhood Association. And, we've been dealing with a few situations up there in the Back Central area. But generally, it's a low key, and the police, I feel, are doing a great job. But, we have to deal with people that are kind of out of control because of the situations they're in, whether it's drug-related or, they just don't have anything to do. A lot of it has to do with not having something to do. We need to create jobs here in the city for the people. And I think some of the information that this lady had given the manager refers to taking some of these people that are getting into this crime and such and creating all of this and utilizing them instead of incarceration, putting them back to work into the public and having them work off like that. What I came here to say was, about a year ago, we had a meeting over at the Don Pulaski Club in Centerville. And there was about 100, 200 people there. Chief LaValle was holding court there, and we were trying to figure out how this shooting occurred and what we could do about it. And after everybody got done speaking, I got up and I asked the chief, I said, Chief, I says, could you tell me, is there any information, do you have any stats on how many of these people who are creating all this crime in our city, some of it pretty violent, how many of them are on public assistance? Because, and I looked out across the room, and there was 100 or so people there. And I said, I don't believe all these good people here would like their tax dollars supporting such activity. I think we could do a whole lot better. And the chief said we didn't have any of those stats. And we might be able to get a hold of some of that. So people that are doing these crimes, the police needed some help here. So why can't we have some legislation or whatever across the city here? Maybe you guys could do something here as far as the council goes in the city to deter these people. So when this is happening, that they're going to have consequences. I mean, if there are no consequences, we all knew this as children growing up. If there's no consequences, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And that's what's going on. So Tommy Golden was there, and he said, geez, that sounds like a swell idea. Maybe I'll bring it before the legislature down in Boston at the State House. And I had said to him, well, if you're going to do so, then I'd like to be there with you so we could get something done, so we could help the police across New England, not just here in the city of Lowell, but across this great state. And that's what we need to do. We need to come together, all of us, the police, the council, the citizens, and think of some ideas. I know we can throw money at this till the cows come home. But the solutions are going to be trying. And we have to, somebody has to step up and say, damn it, we're going to make a change. And this is going to be it. This is going to be the start of it. We're going to pass some legislation here, and we're going to take control of our city, and we're going to take control of our state. And there are going to be consequences for people who do such things in our communities. I mean, because the people that are out here trying to make things better, they don't deserve getting bopped off the head and their money stolen out of their pockets. They work too damn hard for it. We need to step up here. If there's anything I can do, I would be glad to go to the State House with any one of yous or all of yous and stand before them and say, hey, listen, let's do something here. And make some consequences for people. And I do believe that a simple idea such as this could change the whole of the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Taya Dixon-Blaine. I'm the president of the Lower Highlands Neighborhood Group. I live at 63 South Lawrence Street in the Lower Highlands, and I really wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but Anne Marie pushed me up here, so I think I've been here before, and I've given you all of my comments in the past, but over the past couple of weeks, the shootout on Shaw Street, and that's what it was. It was a shootout on Shaw Street. Made people very, very scared, myself included. And people have said to me, I'm afraid to walk from my car to my door in the Lower Highlands. And then there was somebody was stabbed inside a building, from what I understand, but was bleeding out on the sidewalk in Couple Square in the middle of the day. There was a shooting at a business. I think it was Thursday night, around 6:30, dinner time. People were in Couple Square getting dinner. I talked to a business owner there this weekend who basically, she said she was scared. This is hurting her business. People don't want to come out. Couple Square is one of two, of our small business districts in our neighborhood, and this is affecting their businesses. And I'm always happy to say that, the neighborhood businesses in the Lower Highlands, we don't have empty storefronts. We have a very active and vibrant neighborhood business districts. But this isn't helping them, and it's not helping anybody who wants to walk to them from their house. So congratulations. I kept calling you Captain Taylor, but Superintendent Taylor. You know the neighborhood well. And I'm hopeful that there will be some change put in place, short-term and long-term, and I mean immediately, because I have people emailing me and calling me saying that they're scared. I wish they would all call you, and maybe they are, but I hear it quite a bit, and I think people are genuinely concerned about their well-being, for their children, sleeping in their beds at night. So, I think the idea of, and I think all the neighborhood groups have been advocating for getting back to a community policing model. We have seen officers on the street, and we'd definitely like to see more of that. And we've heard a lot about a public safety campaign that's see it and say it. which I think a lot of us have been touting, but I think that's something that all has to come from all of you as well. A woman was attacked and almost raped on Thayer Street in the Lower Highlands about a month ago, and nobody picked up the phone to help her when she was screaming for her life. Thankfully, she had the wherewithal to know this person, write down his license plate number, and he was arrested. But nobody in the neighborhood, this is a densely packed neighborhood, 2-3 family homes right on top of each other, no one called the police. I think that there has to be this effort to reach out to the public and engage them and get them involved. So thank you.
Okay.
I certainly
Chief.
agree with everything that the citizens have said. Recently, we've just rolled out an app for smartphones called MyPD, so anybody can download it. MyPD, it's available both in Apple and Android, and it's a very cost-effective, quick way for people to send us anonymous tips, photos if they want. It's also a communication tool. You can get access to all the department information, contact information. It's also got a community survey, so we hope that that'll open up, increase those lines of communication. Let me say a couple of quick things. In preparing for the various interviews and round of discussion for the superintendent's job, I went back and did some reading on, police work in general, and clearly, community policing, we get the message loud and clear that everybody wants the community policing program reinvigorated in the city, and we will do that. We will do that moving forward. Sir Robert Peel was the founding father of modern policing back in the mid-19th century in England, and a couple of interesting things that I read that is true today in 2013 as it certainly was then. He said that the overall safety or condition of a neighborhood is not judged by the number of arrests, it's judged by the absence of crime and disorder. And so that's really, I think, very, very true today. And he also said that the police are the community and the community are the police. And when you think about that, that's absolutely true. The police can't do it alone, and the community can't obviously do it alone. We have to work together and build those lines of communication and build those bridges to solve some of these issues. And we do it by one block, one neighborhood, one street corner, one park. That's how we're going to accomplish this moving forward. And I'm very optimistic that when we adapt some of the changes moving forward, that we'll be successful, especially working together.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Anne Marie Page. I reside at 26 Fremont Street in Lowell, and I'm the president of the Citywide Neighborhood Council. Congratulations, Superintendent Taylor. Get a good night's sleep. You're going to be real busy. We have a lot of crime problems. We all know it. And Dave said the word that one of our other words. One word we use the most in Lowell is enforcement. We want to see more enforcement on everything. We have good ordinances, we have good laws, we have good rules and regulations. We need tougher enforcement. We need tougher cops. Years ago, cops were tough, and then somebody passed a law, no more being tough. We have to go to the huggy-kissy plan. Well, the huggy-kissing plan isn't working. We have to go back to tough. Because, as Dave said, if you do something wrong, there have to be consequences. The reason we're all sitting here tonight and we're not sitting in jail is because our mother or our father or some tough nun made it real clear, if you do something wrong, you're going to be real sorry. That's not happening that much in society right now. We need to have rules, regulations, we have enforcement, we need a little more, and we need to have our court system jump on board. That's why we need our state reps to work with us. We want to work with you. And the favorite word we heard tonight was community policing. We had a meeting last Thursday night with some guest police departments from Arizona, Connecticut, and Texas. Now, Texas isn't anything like Massachusetts. I think they hang people on trees down there. But anyways, Connecticut had a very good plan. You go on the department in Connecticut as a police officer, mandatory first year you'll walk a beat. And that's what we want to see. We want to see the policemen. I will tell you in honesty, last week, one day last week, I saw 3 cruisers on Christian Hill on the same day. And I was very pleased, because I know you're out there. But we want to see you. We want you walking. We want you talking. We want you getting to know, just as you said, Superintendent, you said, when you walk that beat, you know them, they know you. They know what they can tell you, what they can say to you, and what's safe. You are our safety net, so we need that. We also know some of our issues going on here are gang unit. I know we had a big, bad, tough gang unit, but it's been so quiet. So do we still have a big, bad, tough gang unit, or we have a half a gang unit? What do we have?
No, they're the unit that principally currently assigned to deal with that issue is fully staffed.
Full staff? Okay, that was good. Because I know for a while, I think when money was tight, I think they may have had to cut back, so that's good to hear. We do want everyone to get on board. We want to be team players. We're happy to hear you're hooking up with some volunteers, because if you can get some volunteers to do some other work, then we can maybe take some officers out of the precincts and get them out on the street. That's what we want to see. This violence isn't helping our image. That woman that was attacked in that Enterprise parking lot, that happened at 6 p.m. in the evening. And there are many women that have said to me and to other neighbor leaders, I wouldn't walk in downtown Lowell at night. That's not good. That's not something that you want to hear, right? And I did give you information on an incident with a young man being approached Sunday morning between 11 and 12 on Merrimack Street, right across from St. Anne's Church. Things are pretty bad when somebody comes at you on a Sunday morning across the street from a church. So you've got your hands full. We're very glad you had no stats tonight. What we just want to hear is right from the heart, right from your guts. This is what we're doing. We're putting them out there, and we want to see you. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Hi, Deb Forgione, Pawtuckaville Citizen Council. I wasn't going to say anything tonight because I'm pleased that we're going to be going forward. We've been there before. We know what to do. We know how to do it. Everyone here has done it before. I think what I'm just going to say is we just have to be mindful of what happened. Why I know that we were down police officers because there was money, there wasn't money available. But on a personal level, I work with 9 neighborhood leaders. And this past year, we saw the crime escalating. And we were, each and every one of us in different parts of the city were constantly saying, it's getting worse. And now we're here. And I think we could have stopped it from getting as bad as it is if somebody in the middle of the year was listening to when we were saying you cannot have every part of the city telling you it's getting worse. And over the summer, we had a lot of car break-ins, and we said it's unusual, it's happening, it's escalating, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't happen. It just was every day, every night, and for us to always complaining about it, it was like, well, you know, you live in a city and you have to expect it. If you've lived here in my neighborhood for 25 years, you knew it was unusual and getting worse. And for some reason, it wasn't seen as like we saw it. And I think that hopefully we get back to the community policing where, I mean, Artie Ryan would call up and say, how are things going over there? He was always checking with us to prevent things from happening. And so what was missing this summer is that when we said our cars are getting broken into every day, it went, okay, but there was no plan. So I think we have to be mindful of why we are here today and what happened this last year. Because in January, we had that shooting. And from that shooting in Taya's neighborhood till now, it did get worse. So thank you.
And good evening. My name is Dave Willett. Acre Action Group, and I'd just like to say congratulations to Superintendent Taylor, and thank you, Deb and Adi, for all you do also. And today is the beginning of a new day, and I'm sure Superintendent Taylor has a great vision, and looking forward to what you bring to the table. Again, congratulations, and thank all of you.
Thank you. I know time is running short, but, and I know Councilor Elliott wanted to get to this, and Chief, I was interested too. You mentioned the changing nature of the gang issue here, and
Yes.
whether you had anything you wanted to share about that. I suppose we don't want to broadcast our strategy, but on the other hand, I think people want to know that we're engaged in trying to solve that.
Well, we clearly understand that it's evolved, and the profile of the gang situation in the city has changed. They're older, they were involved in the criminal justice system, they've been incarcerated in many cases, and perhaps most important, like I indicated, they were involved in drug trafficking, money laundering that goes along with it, and then the inherent violence that also accompanies it. So we're going to adjust our strategy, and we're going to focus to try and dismantle some of these they're essentially criminal enterprises now, many of them, and we're going to focus on going after them and trying to, if we can dismantle them. I think we've got some strategies to be successful moving forward, so that's clearly where we're going to go.
Thanks. Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for the public to know that too, that we're not talking about teenagers anymore. I mean, as much as it once was, these teenagers are growing up, they're still on the street, but they've evolved into older and more, smarter criminals, if you will. So that is good to know. It's also good to know that you're going to reach out to the DA, because as one of the speakers said, we do our job here. It's also time for the courts to do their job and, make sure that they're just not back out, back out on the street. So that's good. Mr. Chairman, I did have one question on two of the reports that were sent to us, if that's okay.
Councilor Noon had a comment, I think, on this issue. Okay.
Yeah, if I may, Chief, you mentioned that the gang evolving and that they're much older, and also that they have criminal record and or involved in drug activity. Let me pick on the facts that they have criminal record. And you spoke of in your summations, the introductions that you like collaborations. What's the level of collaboration with probation and or parole on this issue with those offenders who have had criminal record?
Well, we do collaborate with probation, parole, the Sheriff's Department. We get, on a regular basis, reentry information as offenders are released back into the community. And we clearly, we do home visits. We have a grant program, and we fund some of it on our own. As they're released into the community, we welcome them back with a carrot and a stick, provide them some services. But I think the individuals that we're talking about that we've identified are involved in some of this criminal activity with the gangs and the drug trafficking, they probably are not under any supervision, either probation or parole. They've kind of worn that welcome out. So many of them wrap up their sentences. Many of them do not want to be under supervision when they get out. They'd rather do the extra 6 months or a year in jail and come out and be free. That's usually not a good indicator of future productive citizen. So,
do you get any help at all from the DEA because it's drug involvement?
The DA? Yes, absolutely. We work seamlessly with the DA's office. Marion Ryan and I have, we've discussed it, and some of the people, to her local representative in the Lowell region and the state police assigned to her, we're actively involved in very much some cooperative efforts going forward.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. So, Carrie, just kind of taking the discussion forward on a number of officers we have, more officers that people are seeing, that neighbors are seeing in the street. I count 106 patrol with the 3 shifts, 106 officers, and then there's also another directed patrol of 13 officers, including command staff. So, do you envision that number going up through your reorganization and shifting other resources, whether it's, detectives or otherwise? Do you see an increase in the patrol officers?
Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you that Deputy Ryan and Deputy Friedel, I think that we all have the same vision of this. We may have slight variations, but clearly we understand moving forward, and many other members in the organization, the command staff, we understand that there's a need to reorganize it and put more resources into the neighborhoods, clearly.
Okay.
And we will do that, take a little bit of time. Hopefully it'll coincide with the officers coming off their end of their training program somewhere midway through the winter.
Okay, and that number, how many officers are there on 111F? I remember that was I know that there are that have some, officers are going to get hurt, but for a while we had a major problem with those.
Not anymore.
Yeah, we have, you're right, Councilor, some 7 or 8 years ago, there was quite a number of officers on 111F, and that's down dramatically. I think it's down to...
It's a handful. It's much better than it once was.
And when they were only on for very short periods of time now.
Right. That's good to know. Just good to stay on top of it.
It's a very positive thing.
And I did see that you're getting rid of 20 cars. You're surplusing 20 vehicles of the 100 and I think there were 140. Of this number of vehicles, how many? I thought I remember it was around 20 patrol vehicles. Do you envision seeing some shift of, less unmarked and more patrol vehicles, knowing you're going to have more officers on the street?
Well, what happens is you'll see many of the vehicles that we're going to dispose of are vehicles that were involved in various surveillance.
Crashes?
Well, some of those. But typically, the patrol vehicles have several lives. They go to frontline patrol for a couple of years, then we bring them, and we may put them in a secondary capacity for 3 or 4 more years, where they're used 8 hours a day for various units. And then very often, they have a third life, where we recycle them into an investigative unit that even gets used less. So literally, by the time we get rid of the typical patrol unit, and then, finally it can go through being in an inventory for parts. So when we finally get rid of the old LTDs, or now the Chevys that we're using for patrol, they are completely worthless.
Okay.
So-
Are some of these vehicles confiscated? Like there's a
Yes.
few BMWs in here.
There is. You'll see.
I'm presuming we're not
Yes,
buying
that's right.
BMWs, but,
It's difficult to do surveillance with,
so
obviously
are we
with-
buying them out of law enforcement trust fund?
Well, what happens with many of the vehicles that we seize, so we'll seize a vehicle that may be worth $20,000. We'll seize it in conjunction with the DEA or the FBI. They'll agree to give it to us, but there's a nominal administrative fee that they require us to pay to the Marshal Service to get that back. So let's say, for example, a $20,000 vehicle that we can use for 10 years doing surveillance, we may have to give them $1,000 or $1,500 or some number like that. So that's where you see that. And then in turn, we get a very valuable vehicle that we can use moving forward.
I know we're running up against time, and they've answered my questions anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the city manager, I just have one request. The 2 pieces of paper that Heidi Miller gave you, I would like a copy for every city councilor, as well as an extra one, because she probably would want it back.
Right, I was gonna make copies and have them out to you next week.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all right. I thank you all for coming and for sharing your thoughts. And Chief, we wish you well. You have a full agenda, and please know that the resources of the City Council are here to assist, and I know that works vice versa. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Noon. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The meeting stands adjourned.